Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely honored to have you here today. So, we are going to be speaking about a subject that is very valuable. This is one of the recommended videos on that post that I made asking all of you what types of content that you want to see more of. And once again, this is a video that was inspired by somebody's comment asking about this type of subject today. So we're going to be speaking about polarity and how do I turn one polarity into the other. So when we're talking about negative into a positive, how do I turn fear into freedom? How do I turn restriction into openness? This is a really powerful concept that a lot of people do not understand, and this I truly do believe is one of the leading causes in our today's time of a lot of suffering that takes place in people's everyday life. But if you can actually understand what it is that I'm going to be teaching today, this is going to help you resolve a whole lot of unnecessary pain and suffering, and it's going to give you a better roadmap on the path of living the life that you want to live and becoming the person that you are here to be, feeling whole, feeling grounded, and feeling like yourself, feeling good as yourself. And there really is a momentum that builds up from this, but we have to understand the process of how to get there, and transmutation of energy is one of the key things that you need to know when it comes to this process. So if this is something that you are interested in learning more about, then I would highly recommend that you stay tuned, and I will see you on the other side. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. So we're talking about polarity first. So let's start off with just a little bit of a context. The polarity between a positive and a negative. Let's refer to emotions here, energies in motion. We have a positive emotions, feeling of joy, feeling happy. Then on the contrast, we have negative emotions, feeling fear, feeling depressed and down. Both of these different polarities have a balance together, meaning you literally can't have positive without the negative. You can't have joy without the depression in some regards, meaning you can't understand truly what joy is until you've experienced the opposite of that. So it's not that negative emotions are bad and positive emotions are good. They all play their role in regards to our development process in understanding ourselves. And that's literally the most important thing when it comes to being a human. We literally came here as human beings to experience a balance of both positive and negative emotions, positive and negative experiences. Now, here's the caveat. A lot of us, because of our negative experiences from early childhood trauma, we start to sort of wire our nervous system to then be addicted to and attached to these negative emotions. So what we end up doing is we end up making choices, we end up thinking thoughts, and we end up getting into relationships that literally keep us cycling over and over and over again into negative feeling types of states. And I would say for the large majority of most of us, this is something that we are unconscious of. So we're not even aware that this is what we're doing, even though we're literally seeking it. It's kind of like we're programmed or we're wired to want something that we're unaware that we're programmed and wired to want. That's how subtle unhealed trauma actually is. Now, if we're going to look at this from the lens of understanding fragmentation and understanding parts of ourself, we have a bunch of different protective parts of ourself that are trying to escape root cause dense emotions that are in our body, because these parts of us think that we need to escape these things in order to survive. But that's not really the case. We really actually have to process these emotions and build relationships with them so that we can actually release them from the system and then step out of having to always live in a survivalistic state every single day and then cycling through these patterns of negative emotions and negative states. So this is a very important context for you to have. It is 100% completely possible to live in such a way where you are not having to be attached or even addicted to feelings of shame, feelings of fear, feelings of guilt, feelings of sadness and loneliness, abandonment and betrayal. You don't have to choose that every single day. Now, the hard thing is that if your body is wired unconsciously to you to seek those emotions because it's familiar to you, and then your protective parts of you are driving these behaviors because they think they need to in order to keep you alive, then it takes a process of consciousness, of becoming aware of why you're doing what it is that you're doing, recognizing your behaviors, recognizing your patterns, and then making active choices to do pattern interrupting, or to, in other words, change your lifestyle. Start doing different things. Start adopting a different belief system that actually supports you in going deeper into your repressed emotions inside of your body rather than trying to escape them or run away from them. Adopt a lifestyle by being consistent with making healthy choices, having boundaries with unsafe people, eating healthier foods, getting better sleep at night, meaning you're giving yourself more room to actually get a good night's sleep. You're no longer staying up till 1 a.m. watching YouTube videos. Okay, these are all little incremental things that you can do that are going to be some major pattern interrupts that are going to prime your nervous system to start regulating itself. This is another important factor with this whole concept of transmuting negative into positive, is that your nervous system is always, and I literally mean this, trying to upregulate itself naturally. Meaning there's not much you have to do in order for your nervous system to naturally change into a regulated state where you're feeling more present, you're feeling more socially connected, you're feeling good inside your body, you're feeling more whole, you're feeling more confident. There's not much you have to do to allow the nervous system to naturally usher in this process. It's more about the things you're not doing than it is the things that you're doing. So in other words, the unhealthy coping mechanisms, the drugs, the belief system that you're refusing to let go of because you just refuse to. You just don't want to let it go. You're like, nope, I'm going to believe this to the day that I die. This person screwed me over and now I hate these types of people. That's what I believe. That belief system you're refusing to let go of, that relationship that is not healthy for you, right? That job that you're working that you're not passionate about and keeps you stressed out every single day. That environment you keep wanting to go to, even though every time you go there, it stresses you out and it makes you feel like crap. These are all of those things that have to be addressed and have to be taken away or removed through a process. And that process will look different for every person, but it's literally removing these things becomes the biggest factor for how your nervous system can naturally start regulating itself. And then you can gain more access to your heart and you can live from a more heart space, not a survivalistic mind head space. We want to have a mind, heart, body connection and a harmony. but we're never going to get there if we're riddled with all of these different unhealthy, coping mechanisms, or whatever those coping mechanisms are for you. And the reason why that's so important is because it's all rooted in safety. So for example, it may be something as simple as masturbation. Let's say that you are finding yourself getting overly masturbating. And every time you do it, what does it make you feel? It makes you feel shame. It makes you feel guilty. And you're doing it over and over and over. And then you're like, why am I doing this? I really don't want to be doing this. But your body is actually addicted to the feeling of shame. So the reason why you keep doing that is because you're so familiar with that feeling of shame, and it's so wired in your system that you're literally looking to feel that emotion because you're so familiar with it. And then you have that protective part of you that's driving it, saying, yeah, we need to masturbate to escape the processing of the shame. So I want you to understand there's a difference in how we sort of feel emotions. There's the emotion that we feel when we're trying to escape it and when we're trying to distract ourselves away from it, which usually always ends up in it coming up to the surface one way or another. So for example, you overuse drugs, then you have your come down. That's when the emotions come up. You get into a toxic relationship, there's really high highs, and then it hits you with really low lows. That's when the emotion comes up. You're working the job that you don't really like, but you think it's gonna, you're gonna make a lot of money and it's gonna increase your status and all that stuff. And that feels really good, in certain circumstances, but then on the back end, you're burnt out and you're exhausted, and then you go home, and then all these other emotions come up. So you're never really escaping the emotions. You're never really escaping the root causes. But there's a difference from, okay, I go use some drugs, I escape my emotions by doing that, and then on the back end, I get the hangover. Now I'm feeling the emotions again. Now I'm looking for another way to escape it. That's where the cycle comes in. It's like the emotions come up and then you're escaping it again. You're running away again. You're avoiding again. And it happens over and over and over. There's a very big difference from those emotions coming up and then finding a new way to run away from it or a new way to escape it, rather than actually allowing these feelings to come up and then having a willingness and an acceptance to actually be with them and to actually process them with that understanding that this is important for me to feel. So I'm going to surrender to the feelings of these emotions in the sense of I'm not going to run from them. I'm not going to hide from them. I'm going to get curious about them. And I don't need to figure out exactly why they're there. But what I do know is that I need to accept them where they are, and I need to accept them as a part of me, not the whole me, but a part of me that currently needs my attention. Now, as I'm in this form of acceptance of feeling what's actually going on in my body at a sensational, emotional level, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to nurture my lifestyle process to then be able to better feel those feelings. So in other words, I'm not going to make those decisions to run from it. I'm going to literally orchestrate my life around feeling those feelings. Why is this so important? This is important because this is what allows you to actually process the emotion or to actually integrate it. So this is where fear gets turned into courage. Fear doesn't get turned into courage by saying, I'm feeling fear, but I choose courage instead, so I'm courageous. That's not how it works. This is how it works. I'm feeling fear. I want to be courageous, but right now I'm feeling fear. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to acknowledge that my body is feeling fear, and I'm going to give myself acceptance to literally be with this emotion for as long as it takes for it to actually process in my system. So I'm literally going to be with that fear And as I'm giving myself permission to be with it, that's what's literally allowing it to process and then release from the body. So naturally, there is a dissolving effect that will happen on those dense negative energies that are currently stored in the body when we have acceptance to allow ourselves to feel them. Once that fear is naturally processed, however long that's going to take you, the next thing is courage arises naturally. You don't necessarily have to program courage or wire courage in your system. These are natural feelings and states of what we could call our most authentic self or our higher self connection. So the only reason why you might have a disconnect from your joy or a disconnect from your freedom or a disconnect from your courage is because there's other negative energies from the past that are basically overlaying those positive emotions. So what we're really having to work on is integrating the negative energy in the system by actually accepting it where it is and giving ourselves room to feel it, that then naturally creates the space for courage, joy, freedom, and presence to just naturally arise. Once again, it's not about I have to program myself to be courageous. I have to program myself to be happy. It's not so much that. These positive emotions are actually natural to our body and to our soul and our spirit. We just have to create space for these things to arise. It's kind of like the same way when you're planting, like if you're planting a tree or if you're planting a flower. The most important thing is that you're creating a healthy, nourishing space to put that seed in the ground, and then you're taking care of it as it's in the ground so that it can do what it naturally needs to do. You're not having to necessarily control how it's sprouting and what color it becomes and, how fast it's, going to take itself to go through that process. You're just creating the right circumstances and nourishing that process so that it can do what it's already meant and designed to do. That's what we're doing within our own nervous systems and within our own bodies. But when we are attached to these negative feelings, unconscious to us, and we're getting into relationships and we're making decisions and we're holding on to belief systems and we're, going to environments that are always triggering our body in a survival stress. The reason why that triggering is happening is because you might be doing something that is actually similar, or maybe the word is familiar to early childhood. So for example, let's say it's a relationship. You might be in a relationship with someone right now that's really not a good person for you. And this person is literally triggering your body and your nervous system in a very similar response as what you experienced during the abuse that you went through with your mom and your dad. Now, up front, this person that you're in the relationship with is not a trustworthy person. They don't really love you unconditionally. And they're just not someone that really you feel safe with. But you're choosing to be with this person because there's a false sense of safety in the familiarity of it. So with all these negative emotions that this person really triggers in you and this level of survival stress that they bring out of you, you're actually addicted to those feelings. You're addicted to being in survival. There is a sense of, there's a little bit of like a dopamine and an adrenaline rush that comes from being in survival stress. So you can literally get addicted to that state. Now, if I'm in a relationship with a person who's always triggering that in me, and then it's also bringing up little bouts of shame, little bouts of fear, little bouts of, abandonment and betrayal. If these are all feelings that I've felt in my early childhood and I never processed them, then it's very likely that there are many parts of me that are basically addicted to feeling these negative emotions unconsciously. So those protective parts of myself that are just trying to keep me safe are actually driving me into deeper pits of shame, fear, worthlessness, abandonment, betrayal. And it's not that these parts of self are wanting to do that to us. They're just doing what they know best off of early childhood programming and off of early childhood wiring. So once again, imagine your mom and your dad, you felt a consistent streamline of worthlessness or betrayal and abandonment and all this different type of neglect and abuse. Your nervous system was wired and programmed to see that as normal. So even though it's all negative and it's not really a healthy thing, you see it as familiar, so you actually look for it because you're so used to it. It's like, I would rather feel those things and be in this lower down state than actually step into the unknown and become the person that I know I'm truly capable of becoming and feeling feelings that I know I'm capable of feeling that are very different than what I'm actually used to. Because in order to go from this old self to this new self, you have to do a huge pattern interrupt and you have to be willing to step into the unknown. And as you're taking those steps, you're going to go through massive ego dissolution and you're going to feel a lot of negative emotions that will come to the surface to finally be processed. But that is not a bad thing. That is actually exactly what we're looking forward to happen. We want to make that pattern interrupt. We want to change our lifestyle with that new foundation. And we want to go into acceptance of feeling all the different emotions and nervous system states that are going to arise through this transformation process. We do not want to be escaping it, avoiding it, or running away from any of it. And that process can be tedious. It's going to require patience and it's going to require consistency. And I can guarantee you it's not going to be comfortable. I mean, imagine this. You're on day 3 of completely changing your life, making different choices, having boundaries with certain people, choosing to not attach to certain belief systems, but practicing releasing and letting go and becoming more one with like a void state of being, just a no thing, right? You're practicing this. You're going outside for, let's say, a walk. So you're shifting unhealthy coping mechanisms into healthier coping mechanisms. And the next thing you know, you have this immense sense of worthlessness starting to flood your system. What do you do in that moment? Do you say, oh my gosh, this is so much, I can't handle it, right back to that toxic pattern, or right back into that relationship that I know is not good for me, right back into smoking weed again, right back into drinking too much coffee, right back into whatever, you fill in the blank, whatever that blank is for you, right back into masturbating again, all because I'm trying to escape that feeling of worthlessness. That's not how you really transform. You have to be willing to step into the unknown and embrace everything that comes up and nurture that process. So when that worthlessness comes up, you're recognizing it as a deep repressed emotion that has been in your system for a very long time that is now making its break to the surface of your conscious awareness that now you get to integrate. And how do you integrate it? By being with it. Meaning you're going to have to literally feel that worthlessness in your system while recognizing this is not who you actually are. It's just a part of you that you're experiencing. So that feeling, that negative emotion isn't actually you. It's a part of you, an exiled part of you that experienced it from your past. So when you feel that feeling, it's going to feel real, but you can remind yourself that this is temporary and that as you're processing this emotion by feeling through it, it will slowly release itself from your system. And through that process, as we're taking out all the different weeds in the garden, now we're planting that seed and we're nourishing that seed with proper sunlight and proper water. Now the heart space starts to slowly open. So you literally, I'm not kidding you, you will literally have an energetic center in your body that will start to open, that's in this region, in the heart space, that you will actually, if you're sensitive to literally your body, you will feel it opening up slowly but surely. When that heart space opens up, you are starting to access a completely different state within your nervous system, emotionally and mentally. When your nervous system shifts into a ventral vagal regulated state, your feelings shift into that state as well. You start feeling more positive emotions. When your state shifts in this way, your thoughts shift and your mindset shifts. With the combination of feelings, nervous system, and thoughts, you are literally now a different person that is now in a different energetic frequency or resonance to create new things that are in alignment with your soul and your purpose and your authentic self. And you're also in a very powerful resonance to attract everything you truly want into your life. Meaning it's not about, I have to go get it, I have to make it happen. It literally starts to come to you very effortlessly, and all you have to do is just recognize it and then go into it. This is the power of emotional alchemy, and this is the formula. We have to accept processing these negative emotions. We have to make changes to our lifestyle into our foundation. We have to understand body sensations and being willing to connect back into our bodies, especially when things get really heavy and when things get really dense. Meaning I have to be willing to sit with my survival stress or sit with my shutdown and my freeze response and all of the negative emotions and thoughts that come with it. I have to be willing to accept that and to process it, but still take those little steps of nurturing that process, not going back into the old cycles. As I'm starting to do this with patience and with consistency, I will shift out of survival stress and start experiencing more regulation, and then that heart space will open up. And then next thing you know, that heavy, dense fear that you were so used to feeling on a daily basis has now moved into freedom or has now moved into joy. And that becomes the primary emotion that now you're feeling more consistently as you're choosing to honor this new version of yourself, which is truly the most authentic version of yourself, the version of you that's no longer attached to the past and needing to live in the past. You're now living in the present moment and you're creating your future. You're looking forward to your future from a new nervous system state and a new mindset and emotional state. And then as you keep nurturing that, that becomes more so wired into your system, and this becomes more of your default state of being. So just like you wired in this addiction to all your negative emotions and all these unhealthy patterns and habits that support it, you can do the complete opposite and wire in regulation, feeling good, being socially connected, making healthy choices, and all of those things. And that's when your life completely starts to transform and a very positive momentum starts to unfold. This is the formula. Now, obviously, the formula is a lot easier to understand than it is to actually go through. For a lot of people, they have to go through really, really traumatic experiences, crisis types of moments, and rough times to make these changes. It's unfortunate that we usually have to get to our breaking point to choose to live in this type of way, but at the same time, that's also not necessary either. You could literally, after watching this video, make a deep internal commitment to yourself and say, I am going to choose to live differently moving forward in my life. This video offered itself as a spark that inspired me to take action, and I'm going to start this process in this moment right now. Whether you start tomorrow, whether you start today, whether you start a month or a year from today, it is what it is. The most important thing is that you understand, no matter who you are, where you are, and what you've been through in the past, this is all possible for you. It is 100% possible. And if you feel like you need support through this process and you want to work with someone one-on-one that understands it, I would be honored to support you. You can book with me. I would recommend booking a mentorship with me, but if you want to book a one-on-one call with me first just to get to know me, then go to the second link in the YouTube description, and that's where we can start working together, and I can get to know you on a personal level and help you navigate through this process. Okay. So with all this being said, if this was something you got value from, hit the thumbs up button, drop down in the comment section and let me know what you're learning from this. Let me know if you're resonating with what it is that I'm speaking about. I want to hear your own perspective on how you turn your negative emotions into more freedom or into more presence and into more of a positive life experience. Now hit the notification bell and get notified whenever I post, because I'm posting pretty much every single day. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, because by subscribing, you're further energetically connecting to everything I'm teaching. Copy and paste this link and send it to someone that you feel like needs to hear this. If you know someone that needed to hear this message today, I encourage you to send it to them. All right, check out my Patreon. On my Patreon, I have exclusive content, everything from self-development to spirituality. I have an entire collection section that is called the Trauma Course, which literally will take you from start to finish on everything you need to know in regards to regulating your nervous system, going through actual education and practices that are going to help you heal very deep-rooted trauma. This is really the same type of formula that I bring my clients through that you can right now in this moment take advantage of if you're someone that is going deeper with your growth process. I would highly recommend you check it out, and I do stand on the fact that I think it could completely transform your life if you really apply it in the way that it's meant to be received. Okay. So now, tier number 3 of the Patreon is very unique. This is an actual ritual that I perform on the 29th of every single month because I have a background in the occult. This ritual is basically a remote energy transfer from me to you to help you go much deeper into your own nervous system and unconscious to surface up some of these stored, trapped, repressed, negative energies in your system to actually bring them up to your conscious awareness so that you can start feeling through them and then releasing them from your system. I have an entire collection section that also takes you from start to finish on really getting the most out of this ritualistic practice. And then if you combine that collection section called the Universe Be Ritual Process with the Trauma Course collection section, this is a very powerful, structured process that you can walk yourself through and get huge results with, and I stand by this. So if this is something that you're feeling called towards, there's over 200 active members that are participating in this ritual every single month. So once again, if you're feeling called to this, definitely make sure you look into it. This is tier number 3 of the Patreon. Now at tier number 4, you're going to get direct access to me through WhatsApp. So we can talk about anything in regards to your questions and concerns with your inner process. And I will be sending you voice messages through WhatsApp. And you get access to everything from the previous tiers as well. Okay. All of this is that first link in the YouTube description below. Now in the second link, this is the one-on-one calls. As I said, if you want to book one-on-ones or you'd like to go into mentorships, this is where you do it. I work with people from literally all over the entire planet, from where I'm at in Florida to literally the completely opposite side of the planet and all over the world. It's something that I'm extremely passionate about, and I love to be able to connect with all of you and get to understand your process and what you're experiencing and what you're going through, and then offering whatever type of support that I can to help you through your journey and help you understand what it is that you're going through. Okay, so if you're interested in working with me, second link below. Third link below is the YouTube memberships. This is the Universal Mastery family, and that's literally exactly what we are over here. We are a group of like-minded people that are coming together, and we're here to support each other going through these deeper layers of working with the unconscious. So if you want to find yourself amongst a crowd of like-minded people that are all doing this inner work together, I would be honored to have you there. Third link below. Now, with that being said, I appreciate all of you very, very much, and I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.